Ever heard people say to you that motivation is not enough? Well, in today's video, I'm going to be talking about motivation and how you can use it to get results. Now, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Michael Tabaradi. I'm a coach and mentor that helps self-starters and ambitious millennials actually live more aligned to their higher core values, creating more happier moments. Now, as I dive into it, I want you guys to understand that the theory of motivation has been developed in many different ways, but none other that is most famously known by Abraham Maslow, who developed the hierarchy of needs. And so if you look at the pyramid, at the top of that pyramid, it talks about how everyone is reaching towards actualization. And so this is known as a growth need. And so in essence, it's easy to understand through this hierarchy that motivation is key when understanding what you're actually going to get. Now, breaking it down, there are different types of motivation. There are internal and external forms. So internal or intrinsic forms of motivation include generating your own willpower and discipline to actually do something. Whereas when it comes to extrinsic motivation or external motivation, that comes down to the whole carrot and stick mentality. For example, if you're at work and they say, if you do X, then we'll give you a bonus. That's the whole carrot stick mentality. And so studies have shown that that external form of motivation is not necessarily the best way to drive people in the long term to get them to actually achieve specific goals. And so it's about developing internal forms of motivation, things like personal development and coaching and all these different things that can help you be more effective as an individual. So I'm going to throw in some of those examples and how you can develop some of those intrinsic forms of motivation. Now, if you've ever checked me out on Instagram or seen some of my lives, you'll know that I always talk about a specific quality, and that is values. Now, values are important because they're an opportunity to understand what is important to you, which really acts as an efficient way to make decisions. Values are important in times where they're difficult and they make you more resilient and stronger mentally. So it's important to understand what your values are. So for example, are you more attuned to freedom? Are you more attuned to authenticity? Are you more attuned to integrity? There are all these different things that really attribute to your qualities as an individual. And if you can identify them in terms of how they really align to your experiences, it creates a deeper sense of meaning and it gives you a higher sense of purpose in terms of what you need to do. And so relating to motivation, it means that once you know what your values are, you're more likely to be motivated to act based on those values. So if you want to find out your values, you can always check out a list of values on Google and then really select the ones that make sense for you. But again, if you'd like me to go deeper into values at some point, leave a comment below to let me know and I'll definitely make that video. The second thing is making sure that you take in as much information as possible that is really conducive to your learning. And so once you understand your values, once you understand your sense of goals and purpose, then you should really back up your knowledge in terms of reading, listening, and watching things that help you grow as an individual. Now, I want to make this really clear. Listening, watching, and reading things is not necessarily the same as consolidated action, okay? Taking action on specific tasks that will get you closer towards your goals or tasks or primary aims in life. However, it is important to provide context so that you're clear about what you need to do. So go out there and read, listen, and watch things that really help you grow as a person. The third thing is being clear about the vision that you set for yourself in the future. Now, it's important to note that there's this book called The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, and he talks about how now is what matters. The moment is what matters. And so really thinking about it, if you think about the past or the future, it really forms part of your imagination, whether it happened or not. And so with that in mind, if you're casting your thoughts into the future, they are exactly thoughts. They are part of your imagination, regardless of whether you believe in the future as an entity or space and whether you think the past to be the same as well. And so if you think about it, if you were to travel in time to the future, if you think about it, that future would be your present moment. And so it's the moment that counts, but use your imagination to cultivate your sense of future reality. And that's how you can harness things closer to the future. And so understanding the future conceptually, you can understand that it's a powerful tool to design how you want your future moments to be, so to speak. I remember when I was going through my coaching training, when I was getting my qualifications and accreditations, and I volunteered to do a wisdom in hindsight exercise. And effectively what that was was where I was guided by a professional coach in terms of what I was visualizing my future to be, my next 12 months, based on a specific goal. And using visualization techniques, they put me through a sequence that really made me feel like it was possible and that I was really experiencing what my future was going to look like. And subsequently, what happened was I was able to attack that goal. And so you guys are clear, this was a weight goal. This was a weight and exercise goal. I was able to attack it literally straight afterwards. I was at the gym in this hotel, just banging it out because of how powerful the imagination can be when it comes to planning or thinking about or cultivating the energy behind your future. So you have to really get into it so you can actually feel like the future is now, because it really is. The fourth thing, which relates to the third thing, is to plan your next steps. Now, if you're able to feel and experience the future based on your imagination, then you need to think logically using your prefrontal cortex, so to speak, in terms of how can I actually logically make this happen? How can I make this practically happen? And so think about the steps, think about the higher objectives and break them down into tasks. Because if you understand the sequence step by step, then you're not planning to fail, you're planning to make sure that you succeed. So remember, planning is important in all of this. Don't just think about some fluffy imaginative stuff. Think about how you can structure your thoughts. It's like if you were to start a business. You know, people are like to me, should I do a business plan? I think it's so important to do a business plan because I've done my own over the years. I've helped people develop business plans through mentorship. And so when you do it, when you really consolidate time to making sure that you do a proper plan, you understand that you really, really know what you have to do. And you really, really know what you need to get. And you really, really know what your business could look like if you put the right quality time and effort and resources into it. And so a plan is so important, whether this is towards your career life, your personal life, your social life, whatever it is, it's important to have some sort of plan. But again, don't mistake that for taking results. And again, this relates to motivation because this is all designing your environment and your life so you're more likely going to succeed. And it's been shown to see that if you are able to get more results, you're more likely going to be motivated, especially if you're passionate to that thing or it's aligned to your inner values as well. The fifth thing I would say is to make sure that your environment is motivational as well. And what that really means is it's clean, it's tidy, it smells nice, it's airy. Maybe you have posters with quotes that really remind you of things that you need to do in order to stay focused and on task. So these things are important because they create that mental space. They create that energy and that aura of, yes, I can succeed. Yes, I'm going to achieve the things that I need to achieve. Maybe you need to change the background on your phone. Maybe you need to have different quotes, or maybe you need to have different things, like I stated, in your environment that makes you excited to take action. So think about how you can design your environment in such a way that propagates that inspiration. Sometimes you just need a reminder. So for those of you who use Google products, you may use Google Keep, which helps you actually create notes, and maybe you can send yourself a reminder in terms of what your manifesto is or what your mission statement is or whatever it is. So think about how you can create, motivational stuff in your macro and micro environments as well. Now, a coach is a fantastic way to really improve the mental processes within your mind. And so a coach effectively helps you help yourself, but more importantly, they help to improve the quality of your problem solving skills. And so with that in mind, rather than focusing on negativities, you don't just focus on positive affect, so to speak, but you're focusing on solutions. So think about how you can use a coach in order to get from A to B and be more effective. And again, I've said this in previous videos, a coach helps you to improve your self-awareness, allow you to see more choices in your life, and thirdly, enable you to take self-responsibility for what it is that you're doing. Again, if you feel like you need coaching and mentoring, feel free to comment below or send me a message and I'll be more than happy to help. Again, this is logical, especially after talking about coaching. You may need a mentor. Maybe you need someone who can advise you or give you some insights into their experience to quality assure your thinking. So mentoring is a fantastic way to get from A to B in an accelerated way. I would say it's much more of an informal relationship compared to a coach, but at the same time can be really effective, especially if you're looking to start up a business or if you're looking to basically progress in your career as well. So think about mentorship if coaching maybe doesn't fit for you as well. This is usually the freebie cheap option, but also a great way to really get motivated as well. You can see that there is something about internally, you have to sort of develop systems and mechanisms to improve your motivation. And then there's the environmental design. But as I'm going through this, there's something about using other people to basically create that motivational energy. And so having an accountability buddy is fantastic. And again, I've spoken about it in previous videos. So an accountability buddy is someone who can hold you to account effectively to make sure that you do the thing you said you were going to do long after the feeling is gone. Quality assure what you're doing and make sure through a structured and organized way that you're sticking to tasks, that you're doing the things that you said you were going to do, and critiquing you in a brutal and honest way for your benefit. Okay, so an accountability buddy needs to be somebody who is objective in nature, is ambitious, maybe they're higher in a scale than you or the same, but there needs to be that vim and drive from them that enables them to be an effective accountability buddy. So think about getting one and setting up the right structures. Finally, is to make sure that you join a mastermind group or at least set one up. Mastermind groups have been so amazing for me because, again, when I set them up about 3 years ago, I had people from different businesses and walks of life, but all experienced and all ambitious and all really excited about their future. And so with that in mind, what a mastermind session can do is really allow you to express what's happening with your actual endeavors, but to get people to really question what you've done and really sort of see your progress over time. But the great thing about a mastermind session is that you come out feeling excited. It's such an amazing feeling, and I look forward to my monthly sessions. I would say something that's quite similar to being in a mastermind group is being part of an action learning set. So within the NHS, I'm currently training to be a graduate action learning set facilitator. And what that really means is I set the conditions for learning and growth for graduates coming into the NHS and leading the NHS in the future. So let's say, for example, there are 5 individuals. What I do as a facilitator, I make sure that one of the members has airtime for a number of minutes, and then I make sure the group coaches that specific individual with airtime. And so everyone gets a turn, maybe throughout the day on different days. So it's a really sort of consolidated time to making sure that your views are heard. And so you're prepared for some of the challenges that you're facing, let's say within the NHS or within your business or X, Y, and Z. So if you'd like to hear more about action learning sets, or if you'd like to be part of one, again, leave a comment below. And so motivation comes down to what you're willing to do in terms of creating the environment internally and externally to be motivated, okay? So you're not always going to be motivated, but you have to have systems and mechanisms to make sure that you actually do the work that you need to do. Now, obviously, sometimes we get distracted. Motivation isn't always enough. And with that distraction, in this current day and age, we know that social media is a huge issue. And so in the next video, I'm going to be talking about social media addiction and how we can better manage that as well. To make sure you stay tuned for that video, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. And as always, understand, reach, and expand. Peace.